Hello everybody, it's Dante Starshine here. Welcome to this video and thank you so much for tuning in. If you're completely new to the channel, I am a channel, intuitive healer, and astrologer, among other things. And in my channel, I share messages that help people tap into their own transformation and what's really going on out there with all of the energies of this collective transformation. And that is going to be a big part of the discussion today, the collective transformation, as I want to hone in on what the energy of this age of Aquarius is. And looking at some certain qualities in both the consciousness in the spiritual community and in the mainstream community. And we can't even say there's just one of these communities, the collective consciousness, and the different ways it manifests. Things that we can see are generally out of alignment with what the energies are really meant to be in an age of Aquarius. So first of all, depending on who you ask in the astrological world, the age of Aquarius is either already begun, it's about to begin, we're on the verge of it, or there's quite some time yet before we enter it. From my perspective, we are very much right on the verge of it, and the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius in December is one huge entryway that will sort of mean that we're in that energy of Aquarius much more than before. And this transition's been happening for a while, and it's going to expand. We also will have Pluto coming into Aquarius in a couple of years. But anyway, what is the energy of Aquarius? Well, it's co-ruled by Uranus and Saturn. Saturn being the traditional ruler and Uranus being the new ruler. And it's in a way much more in alignment with its new ruler, Uranus. Aquarius is about transforming. It's about bringing things to a state of revelation and expansion. It's about what's eccentric. It's about what makes things even and equal for the entire community, the entire world. It's community oriented. It's very open-hearted. It really wants to establish clear connections with others. It's about individuality, stepping into your own sense of who you are and not allowing yourself to give yourself over to outdated morals, outdated codes of conduct. It's about this sort of radical individuality that isn't individualism where I am me and I don't care about other people, but it's about unlocking your uniqueness and your unique gifts so that you can find the perfect way that you as an individual can give back into the collective. So the times to come will be aligned with these energies. Now, Aquarius is also fixed air, and you can consider fixed air as like the technology required to make things fly, like a hot air balloon or a spacecraft. Like, we need to harness the quality of the air. We need to maneuver it in order to channel it into new directions. So Aquarius is about technology, it's about the space age, and it's really about channeling and intuition as well. Aquarians can just kind of know and tap into something quite magically, and in this time we're all going to individually tap into our own channel, and hence so many people are drawn to channeling right now, and it's really exciting. Though there are some certain things that when we bring our awareness into what this transformation means, we can ask ourselves honestly, am I really willing to let go of the energies that might be in the way of embodying this new Aquarian energy? And I can guarantee that everyone, including myself, including other people developed on the path, have some of these qualities I'm going to mention that they could hone in on just a bit better and more clearly. So I wrote down 5 general things that need to disappear in the age of Aquarius. So I'll start with this one. Systems and thought systems that create division and inequality. So this is one of the biggest aspects of this age of Aquarius, is that we're eventually going to see a world where everyone has equal access to resources, and that we're no longer divided by these arbitrary borders. We're no longer divided into different classes. We're no longer seeing people by these sort of superficial qualities like skin color or race or gender or sexual orientation, any of this. It's all going to go. And this has been in process for a while, though we're seeing now a resurgence of activism and awareness around inequality. And ironically, this is something that many people in a seeming spiritual community are not as willing to look at. So with all of the things I'm going to talk about in this video, it's through bringing our awareness into it honestly that we are able to release it. So there's a tendency in immature stages of awakening to simply just avoid the things that you don't want or deny that it exists, pretend it isn't there. And this is in a way the Piscean level conditioning. So we're moving from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius, and Pisces kind of distorts things. It's opens us to greater states of a cosmic expansiveness. The veil's thin to access other realms, certainly, though in that there can be a lot of distortion, delusion, confusion. So that is an aspect of all of these things that we may be reluctant to let go of, or we may not be seeing it clearly because there's still this clinging to aspects of the Piscean energy. Now, there's a hummingbird flying by my window. That was interesting. So, to create systems that bring true equality, we're going to have to restructure everything in our world. And we're going to have to give rise to the voices of those who are potentially oppressed. And so these discussions where people will say systemic racism or systemic inequality or anything of this nature doesn't exist. This has to go, it has to be purged from our consciousness, and we have to accept that these things are real. And a true embodiment of this Aquarian energy isn't going to fight or push in order to bring people on board, but because it's about community. Again, remember, we create our own community, so the connections we make within our own community will be the ways that we actually establish systems that are truly equal. And many of the government systems, even the political system of democracy, is actually going to face a lot of challenges in this Aquarian energy, because one of the tenets of democracy is majority rule. However, when the majority rules, the minorities that have different needs are erased. So a true system is going to allow for every individual to operate from their full and complete self-sovereignty, knowing what their needs are and finding the ways to meet their needs. And if the needs of one cancels out the needs of the other, then they need to be part of different communities. And the way that political systems and nation states are set up doesn't allow for that, healthy degree of boundaries to actually establish. So everything will have to change. And this is changing in our consciousness as well. So notice if there's any thoughts that would bring you to think that, oh, this inequality isn't real, or this or that isn't real. And shift your focus to honor and accept the reality of those things. And so the next thing on this list of things to let go of, to embody the Aquarian Age, is the fear of technology and the misuse of technology. And the two go hand in hand. So right now, technology in our world is clearly being abused in the sense that a lot of technologies are toxic to the environment, and they are not sustainable. Devices are made to only last a short period of time. As well, technologies are designed in a way that they are to the detriment of the user. So there's a lot of rise to the ways that these companies that manage technology are aware of what they're doing to people and doing it anyway. And this is a trend that's going to continue to develop in a world where we're aware of this and where we're going to have to say we don't want tech companies to be operating in the way that they're presently operating and come into a higher level of function with this technology. Now, at the same time, on the flip side, people in spiritual communities are especially technophobic, and this is very much so not Aquarian. Now, technology is an aspect of Aquarius, and we're in this age, so technology is here to stay. And as somebody who channels, I'm in touch with many of these extraterrestrial beings. You can see my channeling videos anyway, but they say, you know, they have artificially intelligent technology that they connect with telepathically, and this technology is harmonious and functions as a part of their world in beautiful ways that allows things to really flow more smoothly. So we have to understand that while technology can be misused and it can be produced in harmful ways, technology is also what allows us to harness energy and to evolve in much more rapid ways. I know that none of my life would have been possible without technology, as social media has allowed me to make so many connections with people that have really shaped my whole life. So it's an amazing tool, and it's very interesting. Like, I notice if I'm thinking of different groups of people that I have connected with, there's, you know, some conscious people that as soon as you bring out the cell phone in front of them, they start to get all like, oh no, you're not present with me, the phone is there. Even if it's just for a moment, they're like, what are you doing, the phone? That's demonic. And then there's the other people, the more normal people, that are constantly at their phones while you're talking to them, while you're at the table. They're always just staring at it, engaged with it fully. So I aim for the middle ground between them. And we can live in harmony with technology without letting ourselves be fully distracted by it, not giving all of our energy to it. So the abuse of technology and the fear of it are both coming from the addictive tendency that is what happens when we don't give ourselves the full, complete connection with others that we really need. And technology can't be a replacement for human connection. We need face-to-face connection and touch and playtime with people to really embody our humanness. So technology becomes unhealthy, and anything becomes unhealthy when we replace the natural high, essentially, that we get from human connection with an artificial high from technology or anything else. So coming into that very objective place with how we use technology and using it to fulfill a purpose and not fill a hole will help us to transcend this stumbling block as we come into the age of Aquarius, where yes, the technology will eventually be completely artificially intelligent. It will actually be able to bend the fabric of space-time reality, and it will actually be able to read our thoughts. That's where we're going. So the next bullet point, systems that homogenize. Remember again that Aquarius is about the energy of individuality, deep individuality. And it's not the individuality that's self-serving, it's the individuality that awakens unique gifts to bring unique things back into the collective. So now our education system is set up in a way that people get all the same information, and there's, little divergence from the information that they need to be programmed with. And also in the way that a lot of the tools that we use to live our lives, it's like everybody follows these same formulas. They're kind of set up for people who live certain lifestyles. And with what's happening in the world right now, there's almost a pressure to fit yourself into that box of normalcy a lot more. But actually, that is hopefully going to awaken a righteous resistance that inspires people to break down those systems and be unique to themselves. So we may be personally creating more homogenization in our realities when we don't open ourselves up to the differences that exist within all people. When we get into trains of thought where we're thinking that everybody is essentially the same, and if we base it upon ourselves alone, we know how to work with them. So the new mindset is, ironically, what many people criticize with the ideas of snowflake mentality. Luckily, generations were brought up with this special snowflake thing, which I think is beautiful and important, because it is harnessing that uniqueness that is going to allow people to think outside of the box, to actually create these new technologies and ways of doing things that will revolutionize our world. So in order to be in the age of Aquarius, everyone has to be a rebel. And we have to rebel against the ways we've been conditioned to think, live, and behave. And instead of flowing with what we think other people want or need from us, what is expected of us, rather, let go of those expectations, let go of those projections, and ask ourselves in every moment, what is the unique way that I can do this that completely brings me into myself and into my own essence, that is differentiated from any others? Everything you do it in a way that has never been done before. Can you live every day and live everything you do in a way that has not been done before? That will be very Aquarian. Okay, next one. Now we're getting to the deep ones. So the next bullet point is plain and simple pessimism. So there is a deep pessimism in the mindset of people at these points in time. And we have in a way been conditioned negatively for the most part. And this is part of, the evolution of a species. If we look at this from another lens, society has up into a point been very solar plexus oriented, and it's coming to be more heart oriented. So part of this, solar plexus power center can be defining what we want by what we don't want, or preparing for the absolute worst, or progressing through criticism. It's also allowing the fear to govern what we do, and decide to create things a certain way, not because it is a genuine joy for us, but because what would otherwise happen, we fear more, so we focus our energy in a different way. We need to open to a way of living where we ask ourselves first, what is the greatest thing that could happen? What is the highest potential? And also look at situations and challenges not as curses, but as challenges that will strengthen us. And collectively, we have a lot of challenges with the environment and with social issues and so much more. And so many people are really depressed in these times. And some people aren't personally depressed by the events of their life, but they are depressed by the energy that they are experiencing within the collective. And even I take on bits of this where it can feel as if like the world is in such a strange state, and the freedom to travel and to play is not to be restored in a way that I was used to anytime soon, or that everyone that I would want to connect with is caught up in fear. Sometimes I think these things and I shift my focus into service. So one of the opposites of pessimism is service. And Aquarius is all about service to the collective. So when you use challenges as an opportunity instead to do something that benefits others, that brings you to get in touch with this quality of love that you can describe as agape. That was the Greek word for unconditional universal love, where you just have this exploding love for everyone, everything. That is a very Aquarian energy. And that is an energy that helps us break free from pessimism, because the more that we tap into that gifting of love to lift up and support people, the more other people also get a sense of that energy and get potentially connected to wanting to share their energy in a similar way. So leading by example is super powerful now more than ever. Every time you do an act of service, you're not only doing an act of service, but you're changing the vibration of the collective. Because the more people see examples of selfless acts of service, and they see you taking in the agape, unconditional love expansion as the reward, the result for that action, they will want to do the same thing. And then more and more acts of service will spread and build and bring people to be more optimistic. And when there's challenges or limitations, instead of thinking of it as something oppressing us, asking us, well, with these limitations, given that I can't do this or that or the other, I can actually do these other things. And allow yourself to focus on what you can do. Because when you use that constrictive energy to construct with what you've got, you become more resourceful and you learn how to do more with less. The last one is misanthropy. And this is a pretty deep one that I believe people in the spiritual community want to deny and overlook, though it is really alive and present when we see people that claim to be awake going off about sheeple, the zombies, or this and that or the other thing. And, you know, it can be turned into a joke or a metaphor or something that makes, you know, light of it, though it's speaking to a real belief at the core that says I'm separate from others and that these other people are dumb, unworthy, or incapable. And one of the magic tools of awakening is that seeing the perspective and attitude with which you view something influences it. So if you keep viewing the world thinking, oh, all of these stupid people out there are sleeping and not doing their work on the path, they aren't seeing things in the clear way that I'm seeing them, we're doomed. It's kind of the conclusion of that. The more you put that out, the more reality will confirm that, and the more reality will conform to that. So we have to see even those people that are the most ignorant and sleeping as providing a gift to us, as offering the necessary contrast that helps us to come to know ourselves and again our uniqueness in the most aligned way. Without the contrast of dark and light, we wouldn't know or be able to experience and appreciate as clearly the power that is the positive polarity. So give thanks and notice whenever something or someone or something in the world triggers you. That's an invitation to open your heart to compassion and to understand that anyone doing anything negative is unconsciously motivated by their fear. And the solution to that fear is love. Love for all. This misanthropy can hide pretty deeply, and it even manifests as a sense of humans are a parasite on the earth. Humans are destroying the earth. We are a toxic, destructive species, and that's something to be ashamed of. And I actually see people starting to, want to reject the reality of the truth of inequality and the truth of pollution and the truth of this or the other thing, because they don't want to get in touch with that shame they feel when they start to focus on the idea that humanity is a toxin to nature. First of all, this idea isn't true. Humanity is a part of nature. But resisting that idea that perhaps humanity is parasitic is not really helpful, because parasitism is a stage of evolution for one, and parasitism within relationships, as in codependency and narcissism, is a stage in emotional development. And we can have all of these hang-ups and, knowing, oh, that's not good, I don't want that in my life, but we don't actually integrate any of these parasitic energies until we accept it and acknowledge it. And deep within a parasitic relationship is a need. And the true need within all of us is for genuine connection to one another. So ironically, people will think that by rejecting any story or narrative that awakens within them a sense of shame, that they are creating a stronger connection. They're actually diminishing their connection because they're repressing that emotion of shame. And we need to own our shame and work with it and transmute it into self-love. And it's a process that isn't done in an instant, but it takes a constant awareness and a constant choice to rearrange the trajectory of our thoughts and our perceptions. So denial can never be a solution, true solution to integrating these energies. We have to be present with our shame and also be present with any energy of misanthropy or resentment towards humanity. It's a challenging life right now for so many of us. Though I can tell you that when you make these micro adjustments in your lifestyle and your way of thinking gradually over time, you can be free from so many of the controlling and toxic energies that are at work in the world. So we can accept that those things exist and that they're there without being as affected by them. And oftentimes our awareness of them helps us to gain a real realization about what the solutions are and what we want to do with our life that is different from the way that the collective is choosing to express itself. So, do you have any of this hidden misanthropy? Are there ways that you deceive yourself? Are there ways that you tell yourself the story that humanity is broken or flawed? It is in awakening to our humanness and embracing our humanness that we can move through this epoch. And having a restored faith in humanity and this open, optimistic attitude that people can change is very much going to put them in a position to do that transformation work. Again, so much of this is about our perspective, and if you come up to somebody and try to help them or give them information without believing that they're actually going to receive what you're offering, most likely that will be the case. You have to see the highest potential in somebody in order for them to actually make the shift that you would like to see. And the same goes for humanity. So we have to together restore our faith in humanity in order to move through this time. And the Aquarian energy is about bringing the power back to the people, bringing it back to the astrology of the present. There is Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn and Capricorn, so a lot of the focus is there, and we've had a lot of time spent in this transit. So the focus right now is in the bigger systems of control and governance. But when the planets move into Aquarius, the power is coming back into the court of the people. And when Pluto moves into Aquarius, that's going to be even bigger. That's in 2024. So it's like we have this sort of test run in 2021, and then in 2024, this Aquarian energy will come online for a much longer period of time, and it will be very exciting. So remember that people are powerful, that you are powerful, and sometimes the best thing to do is not to fix systems, because so many of the systems in our world aren't broken. They're just set up in a way that's destructive, and they are perpetuating that destruction in their own perfect way. So to create new systems is the bigger key, and to also understand that evil cannot be real unless we believe in it, and it cannot have power over us unless we give it power over us. There's a lot of destruction and there's a lot of recklessness in the world, though again, remembering at the core, everybody does what they believe to be best for themselves. Those who are perpetuating these systems and this aggression and all of it are simply unconscious. And we can push back against them, or we can stand for our truth and trust that by opening up to that universal love energy and that optimistic energy and that uniqueness that wants to do it differently every single time you do it. Never do the same action in the same way. Always make these little micro adjustments and shifts in order to potentiate and expand, accelerate this transformation and evolution. That's what's key right now. We're all a part of the planet evolving, and we have to evolve ourselves and revolutionize the way that we do things in order for the planet to in turn do the same. So I hope this has helped you, and you can reflect on any of these aspects of the Aquarian energy you still need to integrate. And yeah. Again, if you enjoyed the video, liking it is cool, or loving it, sharing it, subscribing, and staying tuned, as I will be sharing when I feel called to. Yeah. Much love. Tune into the channeling sessions that you can find in the community tab. I post them, the links to them, and they go live on my Facebook page. That is Dante Shante Singh, S-I-N-G-H. All right. Much love, many blessings, and enjoy a brilliant day wherever you are.